Does everyone see my screen, first of all?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. I have to say that I was ecstatic when I found out that our PMI fellow member volunteer, Thomas Valenta, managed to arrange the session with Antonio, and he asked if anyone wants to moderate. I immediately volunteered
Hmm.
because this is not just moderation, this is very personal to me. My project management journey, as I believe for many others, began by following Antonio's teaching long before I even knew that this going to be my career. I watched all his videos on LinkedIn to build the foundation in project management, and to this day, I continue to follow his incredible work and career, which has redefined project management for today's world. Today's session will focus on the critical intersection of hybrid models, AI, and the evolving role of Chief Project Officer. These are three areas that are revolutionizing project management and will become increasingly vital in the year ahead. Antonio's insights will provide us with actionable strategies for navigating projects in a world driven by AI and complex hybrid environments. One of my favorite quotes that Antonio has written in his article in Harvard Business Review, he says, "Projects are the lingua franca of business and personal worlds." This reflects how deeply projects have become integrated into every aspect of our work and personal lives, and why mastering project management is so critical. And before we dive into this session, I'd like to ask you to think about this thing. How prepared do you feel for the future where AI and hybrid models shape the way we manage projects? Are we as project managers ready to embrace the evolving role of Chief Project Officer? Today, you have the chance to explore these questions with one of the greatest minds in the field. And for the sake of the time, I will quickly go to the code of conduct, and I'll introduce our speaker with all his achievements or latest achievements. And then I'll give the microphone to him. The rest of the information that we typically share about the chapter, the PMI chapter, about everyone who doesn't know and wants more information, they can stay after the departure of our speaker, and we'll talk about the discussion as well as our information about the chapter. The code of contact is, as you know or already, please mute your microphones, have the full name on your screen so we can match with your PDUs. Please share your video if you like, and you can chat. You can use the chat to ask questions and write comments. You can even share your LinkedIn to connect with other colleagues. And you can contact with the speaker following or during the session on questions you have. Note that as I announced already, the session is recorded and no other organization or person or AI bots are allowed to make any recordings or transcripts of this event. Antonio's journey in project management is nothing short of inspiring. He was the global
Hmm.
chairman of PMI, where he made significant contributions to the profession, including the creation of the Bright Line Initiative, which focuses on bridging the gap between strategies and executions. Antonio has delivered over 600 keynotes at prestigious events like TEDx and the European Business Summit, sharing his expertise and experience on strategy execution, project leadership, and transformation. Antonio is not only a globally recognized leader in project management, but he's also been ranked among the prestigious Thinkers 50 for his remarkable impact on modern management. He's the author of Harvard Business Review Project Management Handbook, which is a must read for anyone serious about this profession. And his article, The Project Economy Has Arrived, positions project as an essential part of business strategy in today's world. Antonio has advised leaders at top organizations like Google, Nestle, L'Oreal, and more on how to implement strategic initiatives and lead transformational change. Recently, he announced the launch of his new company, Project & Co., a firm that focuses on advising and supporting organizations in delivering purposeful and impactful transformations. Beyond his project management expertise, Antonio is a true thought leader and innovator. Recently appointed as a vice president of the Association of Project Management, the largest project management association in the UK, Antonio continues to elevate the profession's strategic importance. He's also a co-creator of the AI-driven project manager certification, cutting-edge credential designed to prepare project managers for the AI era. All this demonstrates Antonio's forward-thinking approach to ensuring that project managers stay ahead of technological advancements. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Antonio Nieto Rodriguez, a true visionary in project management, as he takes us through this exciting session of hybrid models, AI, and the Chief Project Officer. Thank you, Antonio, for your time here, and please take ahead with the microphone and start the session. We are
Thank
all
you,
here.
Maria. This has been one of the nicest introduction I've ever heard. So thank you very much for the kind
You're
words, and
welcome.
thank you to my friend Thomas Valenta for inviting me to this session, and thank you for the group that's organizing these initiatives in German, English speaking. So I thought the idea is great. So obviously I'm very happy to be here. So I I have a lot of content. You'll get the slides afterwards, so you don't need to take pictures or anything. What I'm going to do is just share a bunch of ideas that I've been working on in the last years, and I think they're shaping a bit the profession that we're passionate about, we like, and we love. And just to trigger a bit of thought leadership now and see how we can take the opportunity that I see that we're currently facing. I think today, this year's, is the best time for project management, project managers, since I've been a project manager, because we are really in the center of organizations, maybe more around transformation than what people understands for projects. But this is what you mentioned. I'm very happy about launching this company and APM, sorry, to be part of that board, or just to connect the dots. I think it's good to align between all the people that are working to make project management more influential, more successful. So I have three topics. They're a bit diverse, but there's also connection. First of all, I'm going to briefly talk about hybrid methods. And was something that I was reflecting maybe 2 years ago. More, the trigger for this was that I was getting upset, annoyed between this debate that I heard many times, whether you say you are a project manager waterfall or you are agile, and agile saying that waterfall is bad and it's old and it's outdated, and agile is nice and fancy and all that. So I just thought that was like, I called it, I always try to publish on HBR when I have a topic in mind, just because my focus is always not on project managers. I think most of you know this. So I want to target the business world, the leaders in the organizations. They are the one for me. That's my primary target. If it benefits the profession, even better. But this is how I call it. There was a battle, at least from my point of view, uh, between waterfall and agile, and we had to stop that. So this is from 2023. What happens when you gather in the same room traditional or waterfall predictive project managers and agile practitioners? I don't know if you've tried that, but this is what happens. They're almost fight each other, right? And many companies I know, they are not sitting together. The agile teams are sitting somewhere in another floor, and the project managers in a different floor, right? And this is crazy because we're doing the same. We're doing change, transformation projects, initiatives, call it, and we've been polarized, which is really nonsense. And I think we need to change that. So this is I was doing research for this article, and people were telling me waterfall is a process designed for a world that no longer exists. Is somebody from Agile. Waterfall is a dinosaur. Agile makes Eagle team up with turkeys. Agile is a way of delivering failure faster. This was somebody very. So you see, this is really was something that I think we had to stop. And for the article for myself, I look at the strengths and the weaknesses. I'm not going to cover this. There's some slides with a lot of text, but this is more for you. When you get the PDF, you can read it and maybe you can add things, but there's strengths in both and there's limitations in both approaches. So this is what I want to communicate. And in the end, I think one of the biggest driver or the biggest driver that is pushing me is pushing, I'm sure, Thomas and you in this chapter is to how can we improve performance? How can we deliver benefits more successful and faster? So yeah, the statistics tend to be quite negative in how we do. And I think what we're coming to understand, at least from my point of view, is that it's not enough if you do good project management today in an organization to succeed in a transformation project. I think just the project management for me, it's about 50% of the success. That means that you make a good plan, you have good estimates, you have a good WBS and all that. But if you just have that, project will most likely fail. It's not enough. So something that I'm insisting a lot when I do workshop or teaching is engage senior leaders as well. The executives, the sponsor, the key stakeholders, they need to be supporting your project. And then if you're very hierarchical and very bureaucratic, that's going to hit you. So we as project managers need to learn to influence all these three dimensions. One or two is not enough. Um, so on the hybrid point, I have a few slides from a survey that I did last this year, a few months ago, which you can download for free. Everything is for free. Just to understand, right? Because I didn't find too much research. There's something on PMI Pulse of the Profession, but it's not a deep dive on hybrid. So I wanted to understand. There were about 1,100 responses. So just to highlight where we are when we talk about hybrid. So who answer for this is project managers and program directors, executives. So the what is expected. What this is very interesting. Do you apply a hybrid approach? And they say about mix of methodologies, 89%. So uh, people are applying hybrid, and I don't think they call it hybrid, maybe, or I don't know what they call it, but people are already applying this method since many years, because one of the next questions was, since when are you applying this? And people are starting to use it since many years. So this is not something new, uh, which is interesting. So I didn't know. We didn't talk too much. There's a few books on hybrid, but not too much, not so evident, right? Even in the PM book, we talk about this flexibility of methods, but hybrid is not like a strong word used in this type of important reference book. So you'll get these slides and you'll get the research, and you can see a lot of ideas and thinking. If you're applying hybrid methods to your projects, have you noticed an impact on success? And you can see that, yeah, we have more flexibility. We're able to control the projects better. So actually, yeah, we can see some improvements. So this is clearly something that we need. There's no choice. What's your primary reason for adopting? I was surprised. I was thinking having the flexibility, but that according to these 1,000 people, better resource management, which if you look a bit in depth, that makes sense because it's about, well, if we have one work stream that we can do with Agile, we don't need the whole team doing Agile, no, just pieces doing Agile. And so it allows for more, a better allocation of resources, which I think that's something that is one of the biggest challenges in companies. And flexibility, of course, is the other one. This is very important. When we talk about hybrid, at least me, is not just uh, Scrum or Agile uh, and Waterfall. No, hybrid is two more, two plus. So it can be many different tools, and this has been reflected also. So when I talk hybrid, is of course hybrid, agile, but I think my vision is that we need to integrate all these into one toolbox, And change management, again, one of the things why change management has been growing apart from project management, when there is no way that you can do projects without change management. I just don't know. So these are things that have been evolved like this, but they have to be, you need to do change management while you do project management. So this should be, and maybe some Lean Sigma and products. So it's a combination. And depending on the project, you might have more methodologies than less. This is a bit, you'll see that later when you read, but which approach you apply for this. So it depends on the project type. You'll use more waterfall, for example, in compliance type of projects. It's done in mergers and acquisitions. You use more waterfall, obviously. And when do you use more agile? Well, when you have to do software development, when you're working on new technologies. So that was nice to see transformation. And then hybrid, you can see that where it's most impacted also in new technologies. So this is interesting. Um, so improvement, yes. This is a bit a question I have is I look at trainings regularly and there's no training on hybrid. Um, I have one LinkedIn learning training on hybrid, but it's super basic. But if you look at trainings, there is none. So people are using hybrid methods, a lot of them, 90%, but where do they train or what guides do they use when there's no guides? So this is something that is a bit bizarre, and I think there is that room for developing these competencies and training materials and guidance. I'll share with you a couple of ideas afterwards. So and then the challenges, what are the challenges if you want to implement hybrid methods? And the biggest one is resistant to change from team members. So this is something that I'll talk about it also when we talk about AI, is that I think, and this is personal opinion, I don't have research, but my feeling is that project management profession, it's a bit reluctant to change. It's it's a profession that drives change on others and organizations, but it's just very hard for us to change our profession. Yeah, many of the things are 50, 40 years old. So and because of Agile, we almost lost it, right? Because Agile was very radical changing. So we need to be embracing change in what we do. Doesn't mean we need to change everything, but evolving our methods, evolving our tools, it's super important. And the mindset and some of the technologies and so on. So there's no tool that does hybrid at the moment. There's Jira, of course, more agile, and Trello and so on. So it's a bit of a mix of tools. So if you're in software development, I think there's another opportunity to look into that as well. And then, of course, I will accelerate the adoption. It's AI is going to impact. I think AI will soon, in maybe 6 months, 1 year, will be able to tell you for this project which methods do you recommend to do, right? So maybe for that work stream, preferably focus on predictive, and that one definitely use Scrum, and that one. So I think AI I think will be a great partner to help us to navigate the choices of tools and definitely and continue to increase use of hybrid. Yes, one, 2/3 are definitely in favor. So this is just a summary, just to set a bit the scene on hybrid methods. Um, so what are the characteristics of hybrid methods? There's needs to be a flexibility, but structure as well. So yeah, we want to know when the project will be delivered. We want to have some key milestones. We want to have a deadline, but within that we need some flexibility. So there are some examples always this comes from the HBR article. So how companies are using this for different types of projects within a big transformation. Philips using it for a digital platform, but then they have these machines that they're building more into waterfall. So flexibility and structure, is something that we're looking. Planning and iteration. So the iterations, they're small chunks of work that we need to do, and then we have this planning. I think by now it's almost common that even if you have a 3-year program, you want to break it down in 3 months projects, right? So not the agile sprints of 1 or 2 weeks or for a 3-year program, but we've learned that modular approach is great for also more traditional project management because it keeps the focus, it keeps the motivation. In 3 months, you can see some results, you can do some lessons learned, right? I still think about when I started project management 25 plus years ago, we were doing lessons learned at the end of the project. Imagine we're doing some ERP implementation. After 3 years, we do lessons learned. Who remembers what happened 2 years ago, right? So there's something that we were doing just like because we were doing. Now you do lessons learned every 3 months because we take this, we do testing every 3 months. So we learn in the next 3 months, we perform better as a project team. So I just think that this is just becoming, it's just great. No, I think this is, but I still think, how could we work with doing lessons learned only at the end of the project, right? It's just crazy. Good example of DBS Bank is a bank in Singapore. They've become the best. World Bank and digital transformation is one of the best examples. And they use that mix between iterative and more agile approaches for some parts and then more the planning phases for the infrastructure. And then the customer involvement plus predictability. So, waterfall is about prediction and trying to get all the requirements before, and then agile is more, let's look at the requirements as we evolve. So how do you find that balance? It's also something that we need to think about, and we need to play around with that. British Telecom as well, some examples. So the big question I have is, okay, many people are using hybrid, but is it really a structure approach or it's just chaos? You say, well, I don't apply one single methodology, then this is hybrid, right? And I'll just do every project is different and I don't have guidance. I just don't know. I personally don't know. I think it's more into the chaos because I was telling you there's no really references, there's no guidelines, there's no training. So it's just people have learned that they need flexibility, and project managers are always trying to do their best. So they've moved from rigid approaches to more combination. I think that's the reality. So it's a mix of chaos and structure, but it's not embedded in organizations systematically. There is a little bit of research from some people, not much, but this is an interesting approach. So you start with the waterfall, with the phases, doing more the long-term planning, and then as you start with the execution, you start working more on agile sprints. So this one is a nice research from somebody I know from Copenhagen, and then Cooper and Sommer are nice people to follow if you're into academics. And then for myself, I said, okay, let me take the phases of a project: ideation, initiation, planning. And then I put here the agile thing and the waterfall and the change management and other methodologies, and see, okay, if we're in ideation, should we still use some of Scrum and Kanban or design thinking before we launch? And then we do need some organizational alignment, so that's more traditional. And then we start the initiation. Do we need their agile? Maybe not so much. We need more. So it's nothing. Please don't follow this, but it's just to give me and give you some perspective. But this is something that I think is just at the early conception. I think maybe this is the other view I gather is in color. So you see agile, we need that ideation, but then initiation and planning is more the waterfall part. And then the execution is really a mix of agile and other methods and change management as well. You see, change management is something that you need to do in every phase. And this is something that we were doing at the end. No, it's rollout and change management. No, it's something that we know you need to start with that from the beginning. So it was just to give an idea for me to see how can I present this, how can I see myself. It's work in progress. So if anybody has something to share later in the discussion, is great. And then I built like a checklist with 5 criteria. So So based on the requirements, do we know them? We don't know them. The complexity of the structure, do we have many stakeholders? Do we have many phases? And then the risk management. And with that, I created a small table that you can use in a score. So you can score your project or program, or you can score your work streams and say for that work stream, it makes sense to use more hybrid or a hybrid slash agile or hybrid more waterfall. So it's just a very simple way to look at that. Having scores and scoring them. And I took one of my favorite projects ever, which is the first iPhone, 2007. It was launched called Project Purple. I wrote about this many times, and I just wanted to check what type of approach they would have used. So the uncertainty, they had the requirements, they had defined the requirements very during the ideation phase, and they knew very much what they wanted when they launched the project. The change adaptability, the frequent stakeholder feedback that was necessary. It was very urgent because they had the deadline already announced. And so for this project, I would get an 18, which is a bit of a hybrid approach. So you'll get this, you can change it, you can use it just to start. And I took some projects like the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, and they use waterfall, but they had some hybrid methods below. So very interesting. This is the Crossrail project in the UK. Also mostly waterfall, but also a bit of hybrid because of that. The Mars rover and then any ERP implementation more towards the agile. So it's just very hard to find just a project which is just waterfall or a project that's just agile. It's just a mix, which is, I think, fascinating. And I think I'm a big fan of manifestos, maybe because I was impacted by the Agile Manifesto and the impact it had in the profession, positive and negative. And so I created a small manifesto. I have one for the project economy, and this one is again, this is just draft. All what I'm saying you is just ideas that hopefully we can work together. All these things are co-creation. But you can read that. I'm not going to read that. So that was the hybrid. People are using it. There is no way that we do it on a systematic base. There's very little tool, there's very guidance, there's very little, but definitely that's the way forward. And I think AI is going to be helping that on that part as well. So AI, again, these are two articles I wrote with Ricardo Vargas, which you might know, important HBR to publish there so that it becomes more relevant to the business people. This one became one of the top articles. The one in Agile was very, very popular. The battle between, and this one too was one of the very popular. So we started working on Agile 1.5 years ago. This was kind of the trigger for that. And just make it very simple. Where are we in terms of adopting technologies in project management? So I always use this slide when I'm doing keynotes or training. I say, okay, many of you maybe remember that when you were driving from Berlin to München, for example, you will need to go to a tank station and then you buy these paper plans from Michelin, and then you start opening it, and they're so huge that you could not even see through the windows. Yeah, they were, and then you try to fold them, and it was a mess to fold them always. But yeah, you were driving, you were lost all the time, you were getting there, but just not very effective, not very efficient, and that's how we were driving. And then suddenly you had the GPS, and that changed everything because we were getting to the places. You don't even need to look into the map, just the GPS will tell you. And if you go sideways to somewhere else, the GPS will tell you, hey, Antonio, change the route because we're moving somewhere else. And then you go to California now and you see this car self-driving. So let me just ask the audience, you can put it in the chat. Where do you think we are today with project management and technology? Do we use technology in our projects, or we are still on the paper maps. Just put A, B, or C just to get an idea. A, B, or C. Okay, interesting. Different opinions. This is subjective, so there's no, again, research, but my view is that we're still a bit here. Why? Because there's still a lot of admin and chasing people type of work to get to where we stand. And you have some PPM systems, Primavera Plan is where the usual one, but they're not like a GPS. They're not smart in the sense telling your project has these issues and we're not going to meet the deadline. But Antonio, this is what I recommend to do. So this, not without me ask, the system doesn't tell me what to do or even takes the actions for me. So that's where we will be here. So I think we are a profession that we have not embraced technology as many other professions. And this is back to the point of change aversion, change resistance. I think the biggest excuse we always use is where there's not much data in project management. So how can we use technology? And I think that's something that we need to stop doing and just do whatever we can, but embrace technology. Technology will help us to do things better or projects better. It's not something negative, it's on the contrary. So it's the mindset, and then it's that kind of way to do it. I think this one is clear. What's the percentage of what we do today as a PMO or project manager? This came with Gartner. It was a big shock. Um, and this was 80%. So if you're working today 5 days per week in a project or PMO, 4 days soon will be free. You just need to work one per day on what you're doing, one per week. So is this bad? No, I don't think so. I think it's really good because we can focus on other things that bring more value. I'm sure many of you in the call, you've heard the term chasing people, right? What's the project manager? Oh, we chase people to get data, to make reports that maybe just a few people read and most likely not in detail. So please stop that. We need to do things that really matter, no, not chasing people. So here very quickly, 6 aspects that will be disrupted, that have been disrupted. So I think one of the main areas where we can have significant impact on value for organizations is prioritization and selection of projects. I think companies are a bit lost today on that space. The PMO has a lot of advantages by using AI. Project definition, scoping, that's where we spent a lot of time in the project. Yes, AI, virtual project assistants, testing, and then the new role of the project manager. So let me just walk you through. Again, I will give you the slides so you can read them. But I think one of the challenges companies have today is that the methods as we have today, they like the Eisenhower matrix, or if you are into portfolio management, you are familiar with some of the tools where we use weights but I think these methods were good when you have 6 projects to select, or 7 projects, or 10, where you would spend time to gather the data, and then maybe after 1 month you can compare them, and then you launch. But companies don't have 10 projects. At least the companies I work with, they have thousands of projects. So the methods that we had that were good are not good anymore, are not useful, right? Because it requires a lot of information and data gathering before we can make any decisions. So obviously, I think companies are not choosing the right projects, and they're not making the best decisions. And I know very few I don't know any company that can make me a list of prioritized projects from 1 to 100. Which one is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? There's no company that can give you that today. So that's where AI can bring a lot of value. And I personally invested in this field because it's one of my favorites in project management. And I work with a professor in Canada who has been is a professor in AI, but also an expert in project management. So we built this machine learning algorithm, and I worked with him to define the algorithm, and it was a nightmare. I thought, okay, let's work on 12 criteria, and then we'll help the machine learning with a lot of projects and learn what makes a project. No, it took me like 9 months just to define the criteria, 94 criteria. And then the machine learning needed like 50 projects, all these. So it's something complex which can have uh, a lot of value, but it's just something that is being worked on. So some companies have asked me to create their own predictor for their own company with their own project so that they can add to their selection process the AI perspective and then ranking that you see here. So thanks to this tool, now you can see these projects at the bottom, don't even start them. And if they already started, stop them immediately, right? It's something that we don't do very well is stopping projects, right? It's something we do better. PMO, I've been PMO, and half of my time was really administrative. And so, yeah, please, as soon as we can, start using more all the chasing, the reporting, the anticipation of problems, risk issues, and that the system solves them, at least the small ones. The reports, and then the methodology. I think here's where you can play a role telling, instructing people which methodologies, which approach hybrid to use, and then the compliance. So here definitely things are moving. Biggest part of our job is always around scoping, WBS, and planning. I've seen already tools in the market that can do a project WBS for a big factory in pharma in 5 minutes using big data and hundreds of projects similar where they look at the WBS, and now you can use AI to help you to define projects in a matter of 5 minutes. So I think there we're going to see a lot of benefits, and it's working. So this is something that companies are starting to use, the automation planning. Then you have the PMO Auto, the PMI Infinity, you have the Chat GPT. PMI has done a lot of investment to create PMI Infinity, and they're investing a lot. This one was developed by Ricardo Vargas, and I'm working with that. But the challenge with these Chat GPTs is that you're competing against Microsoft and OpenAI, and they have these budgets where if they want to build something around project manage them, they will it's just impossible to compete, even PMI. So, but I would recommend this is the easy part to start using, of course, ChatGPT. I can suppose that all people in the call are already using, and of course, you never want to share private data, confidential data in these chats GPTs, but there's ways to remove the private data and still use ChatGPT. I use it every day for many things. So obviously, yes. And some of the projects that some people do require a lot of testing software. If your infrastructure, trains and metros and mega projects, and there is already some AI features for that piece already. So that you spend really less time than what you were doing. So a lot of these tools in AI are about to spending much less time focusing on other things, but also improving efficiency, efficacy on what we do. So that's and then the role of the project manager. Are we going to work less? No, I don't think so. I think, yes, there's going to be more projects, there's going to be more work, but it's going to be different. So it requires different mindset. It requires different um, skills, it's leadership skills. It's I'm a big fan of try to talk about we need to be more focused on the benefits, right? And this is what really that's why we do projects is because of benefits, not because of time or cost or so that is where I think we can expect a lot of work. One thing, and just to finalize this section on AI, is we need to remember that anytime you use AI or a technology like these ones, you cannot delegate everything. Okay, there's still you at the beginning where you make the questions and you make the prompt if this is what you're using, but then you have also uh, the AI, and then your role is also at the end. So you need to make sure that uh, we are sure of what the tool is telling us, right? So you've heard about hallucinations and so on. So don't relax, don't delegate everything and just use the tool and share it with everyone because it's going to be wrong most likely. So we still need to be actively involved in this process. And then this is a small thing on the, well, you'll get the slides, so you can download the research that I did with Ricardo on AI. And if you're interested on looking a bit on the certification, there it is. And the last part, and then I open to for some Q&A. So this is the another article in HBR. This one is about the Chief Project Officer. So this is going back to one of my favorite topics. I spoke about this so many times, but basically what we are going is to, this is any type of organization, you have two parts, running the business or the operations, and then you have the change. This is one business. Many years ago, there was not many projects, right? Few people were working in projects in that business. These are the amount of resources. Most of people were working in operations. Over time, we become better. You need less people to run operations because of all these innovations and technologies, ERP. So what happened? There was a shift between projects and operations where most people have to work both sides. They have a role here and a role there. But with the introduction of AI and robots, these technologies, what they do is take a big chunk of operations. So when you will be easily buy robots and put them in your factories or in your point of sales or doing part of your processes and AI too, then you'll have this where operations are run without people, right? Very few. Today in a bank, I work in a bank for many years. Today in a bank, there's more IT people than bankers. So think about that. The bankers, the function, the knowledge is in the machines, right? So, and this will happen in every industry where the core of that business will be in the machines and the AIs and people will be, today in a bank, people work in product-based projects, agile teams and so on. So this is where we're going into the future, right? And this is the basis for me saying that we need a role to manage this. Now, here you have the CEO, but the CEO is not needed anymore. If 20% of the business is just operations and 80% is change projects, we need a different role. We need somebody who's responsible for all this part, right? It's not the PMO. It's somebody who has an executive position who drives all these changes and transformation and becomes accountable for delivering the value of this chunk as opposed to the CEO. So some of the disruptions from the project economy, well, this role is dead. Job descriptions are dead. I think the role of the PMO has been very much focused when operations are big and projects are small. So that's where we come. Resource allocation is something that you do in the blue space, but not in this. Prioritization is crucial because now we need to prioritize 1,000 projects, not just 10. It's very difficult. Project managers need to generate value. I think this is the biggest transformation for profession is, yeah, you need to deliver on time, on budget, but that's not the priority. The priority is the benefits. And that's why we do projects. And there's a bit of on that. The waterfall agile, you need both. And then this is interesting. Companies are struggling because 80% of the people in companies, they work in one project at least, or two. They have an operation run. The other day, a big company, global, in the beauty sector, no, in the spirits and champagne, they asked me, Antonio, after training like 60 project managers, they told me, can you train 4,000 people? Say, huh? Why? Well, we noticed that there's almost half of our companies working in projects and they've never been trained. Never been trained, right? We've trained project managers, the PMOs, but the other people, very few people have, and they're spending 20 to 30, 40% of their time in projects. So these people need to learn a bit the basics, right? So I think I'm going into that space, which is extremely exciting. So we're moving from a organizational chart, which is the chief operating officer, CEO, COO, which takes always a big chunk, is the number two in organization, and runs the business units and the production and the quality. And then the PMO is somewhere there, often into the IT, to a role where I think we will have the chief project officer, where you lead transformations, efficiency projects, sustainability projects, revenue generating projects for Asia, and then you still have the other functions. But I think the office of operations will be more about automation, right, of the operation. So it's just something that I put on paper. That I think in the case of HBR article, you'll see a few examples. They don't call them chief project officers, but they call them chief transformation officer. That's a term that is very much used, is the one, and then chief transformation officer and revenue generating officer in the same role. So there were a couple of examples that I share. And this is more for you later, but what is the role? Translating strategy into execution. So it's really a big player in this project we do, that one we don't do, that one we stop. This is something that we need. So really firm grip on the selection and prioritization. We need to be also people who are able to say, we don't launch that project until we finish two or three, right? So we need to, less is more in projects. The governance is always a challenge. The allocation of resources, we should be able to have more flexibility in resource allocation. Today, it's a mess. This is where many companies are struggling. The practices, hybrid methods, and all that. And then accountable for value creation. Yeah, so if 80% of the people and activities are projects because operations are automated, well, maybe 80% of the revenues of that business have to come from projects, and they will have like a P&L, and they will need to have to account for the benefits and the investments. And so this is a really serious topic. It's not just a side part, is you bring value. You are responsible a big chunk of revenues for the business. So that's what we're not used. So you'll see this here when you can read a bit more. It's not definitely a project management office, right? So this is more, it requires new skills, strategic and critical thinking, value creation. So you can read that, but it's not a PMO. I think PMOs have two choices. Either they keep doing what they're doing and they will, I think, very soon be outdated and maybe 2-3 years, or push towards having that responsibility of, we execute projects, we help you. So it's risky because you're more exposed and you have greater responsibility. But I think that there is a natural evolution, but not everybody will make it there. And the last point, just to finish and open up for questions, I think the biggest change that we need to do in our profession, beyond what we're talking, which are important things, is the mindset. I think many people see project managers as people who deliver tasks. And this is a bit frustrating, but it's also how we see ourselves. So we need to change that. We need to feel empowered to be able to call your CEO or senior leader, listen, this project has no sponsors. So unless you give me a sponsor, CEO, or I stop the project immediately, we're just going to fail. I still don't know why project managers run projects without a sponsor. I think this should be, you should be, get a yellow card or a red card. If anybody runs a project that needs a sponsor without a sponsor, you should stop it, or either you should be fired because you're not doing your job. So we need to have that empowerment, right? To ask for the things we need to deliver projects successfully. If we don't ask, you're responsible for the failure. So it's very, very important that we fight more, that we feel empowered, that we feel entrepreneurs. The CEOs, you're really the bloody CEO of your project, right? So make sure that people listen to you and that you put the things on the table and that you talk benefits, which is what people care. So that mindset is the biggest jump that we need to do. But once you do it, you will see the benefits. I don't say this just because I've seen this, I've done it, and this is what I teach, and it's just, you see the benefits. It's hard because we're not used to it, but once you do it, you will be highly regarded in your business, for sure. And that's it. I think knowing is not enough. I mean, this is what the challenge is. Everything changes so fast, technology is so fast that you cannot just choose one topic to learn per year. Yeah, you say, I want to learn AI in 1 year. I want to do next year, I want to do change management. No, today everything is like every month you need to learn something new and try it. And nobody will tell you how to learn it because one of the things that we are used to is expecting to be told how to do it. And here is no, is the free world. You need to take the steps to learn it and to try it. And that's it. You can find a bit more information connecting in LinkedIn newsletter. And that's it. I'm sorry for the long speech, but perfect. 10 minutes left. That's what I had in mind. Sorry for all this talking and talking and talking. I don't like it, but I didn't have much choice.
You packed so much
So
information,
much.
but it sounded like a flow. It was perfect. Thank you for bringing all these important topics. I like hearing that change management is relevant. I'm into change management as well.
Oh,
I
very
believe
good.
that a project manager needs to be holistic, needs to provide a holistic view of the project, realizing the benefits. Uh, and as you said, the last thing that we cannot wait to study something next year. We have to, in parallel, study all the time AI, change management, everything that is relevant now.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the questions. If anyone has anything to ask, any pain points, what have you been, what has been keeping you awake at night? Maybe we can solve your problems here.
We can try.
Yes, please,
Rudiger.
Rudiger.
Yes, maybe not a, problem to solve, but you mentioned at the very beginning um, the questions: Are you doing waterfall or are you doing agile? And as
Mm,
I'm currently in the process of yeah, getting a new job, one of the first questions I'm hearing in mostly each interview is, um, what are you experiencing? Are you in waterfall? Are you
yeah,
in agile?
I see.
And I tell them, no, it depends. If you have your toolbox, then
Nice.
you need to make use of all the tools you have in your toolbox, depending on which situation you're in.
I
So you
love
just
that answer. Nice, Rudiger. Not sure you will get the job, but at least that's the right answer.
yeah, still searching. But if you know one, so the leader of a PM, please
Yeah,
tell me.
yeah. Tracy, thank you. Nice. It's good point there. Nice. I like it. Thank you, Rudiger.
Oh, but the question at the beginning, I pointed it out. Do you feel ready about working in hybrid, or do you feel ready about using AI tools? How often do you use them at work? All of these questions are really relevant and makes us more productive and really let us focus on the most essential things, on the leadership, on the empowerment, on uh, the power skills, improving our power skills while something else is working on the day-to-day activities. Have you been thinking of those things?
Yeah, I think about them all the time, and I just don't have an answer yet. I think I was trying to do what I share here, questions and checklists. I do think that with the way AI is evolving and even ChatGPT, I've tried a few times, so I think we will be able to connect, and maybe we don't need a PMBOK or that focus only on hybrid, or I think we probably need some kind of playbook or guidance, or but we will rely much more than we've done so far on these AI tools to help us um, taking the right decision, the right tools, the right approaches. But in the end, for me, I see this evolution of the project manager a bit like a chef d'orchestra, no director of orchestra, where in the mind of that person, they know where the tools are in the orchestra, and they will say, okay, now we need to increase the tempo here and there, and yeah, with practice it becomes more embedded, but every time it's a bit different. And so I think that's where I see the role of this is really somebody that is able to balance all the things on structure, but flexibility and what we were talking, right? So it's just very hard to just put something on paper that this is how you need to follow it. And that's where I'm struggling to find the right answer. So yeah, work in progress. I just don't know. Maybe some other people know, but
Maybe it's evolving.
it's evolving.
Saravanan raised his hand.
Yeah. First of all, thank you very much for this great insight.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah. So, as I wrote in the chat, in my current project, we started off with waterfall for 6 months, and then when we are in the execution phase, the developers said we don't need like the waterfall model, but rather we want to do agile. And then it was like the ship was coursing along, and then we had to change the whole outlook of the project. And somehow i I am a project manager and I embrace this change, but not all the people. I mean, I have a counterpart with consulting teams, they have project managers,
Yeah.
and not everyone embraces this change. Is there something that you did in the past, or you are thinking about how to bring everyone on the same page, or embrace this change from waterfall to agile, and then maybe we switch back to waterfall at a later point in time? I don't know.
It's a great point. Thank you for sharing. I love that because this is what happens very often is if a project is struggling, a transformation, and they've been focused more on waterfall, at one point the client or the says, let's change everything. Let's do everything agile. That's because they've heard about this so often, but it's not the right thing to do, right? We're talking about hybrid. Hybrid means a mix, yeah, keep what is working and change what we need. So I think, but what you're saying is so common. He's saying, let's stop with this. Even with agile, I've seen the opposite. Let's move back to waterfall because agile is such a mess. We don't know where we are. There's no timeline. So we don't know the budget. So it's interesting that you mentioned because that's the how kind of the big bosses they see use one or the other, but just use it. And we change from one to the other if nothing works. So there's a lot of work to be done there on the people as well, on the stakeholders. Good point.
I believe it's a very steep learning curve.
Steep, yeah.
For-
Yeah.
yeah, very steep learning curve. I'm not struggling a lot because I know that if I go into a meeting, like you said, chasing people,
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, some are aligned, some are not, but somehow we bring people together. And with this change from waterfall to agile, not everyone is happy. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thank you.
You mentioned to Antonio earlier that the CPO will have the responsibility to deliver the realized benefits to realize the strategic goals of the company. But I'm thinking of AI. I'm missing an important part that I think that organization now are lacking into maturity of their data. And along with the CPO, someone who is very experienced in machine learning needs to sit together and train the tool and
Yeah.
create a framework of solid data. And in time, maybe in year or two, will deliver predictions, but
Yeah.
it cannot happen overnight. And I
No,
believe that's also something that it's a characteristic that the CPO needs to have, is a knowledge that CPO needs to have, or to sit down together with an expert who will have this knowledge to work together.
correct. Yes. Yeah, I think the data piece. Now every company is struggling not to have data strategies and so on, not just for projects, but for sustainability reporting. And so definitely it's a big point there to take that into account and take ownership of all the data which it's a bit of a spread everywhere, even for projects and portfolio. But yeah, definitely good point, Maria. Yes, we need to add the data as a core element to make this role work.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, we don't have any more time. I know you have an important place to be, Antonio, and we are not going to keep you more, but we have half an hour more to discuss, to keep going and share more information here. Keep the ball rolling. Thank you. We appreciate your time. And we're looking forward for new inventions, new articles, new books that you're going to write.
Thank you very
to
much,
empower
Maria,
us with your
and you're in
knowledge.
good hands with you
Thank
and
you.
with Thomas, and to continue this. So thank you. It was a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll be connected and keep in touch.
Yeah.
Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Take
Thank you,
care.
Thomas. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Antonio.
Thank you
Thank
very
Be
much.
well.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
So,
Maria,
we can, yes,
can you share the Mentimeter on the meeting chat? The link?
yes, absolutely.
So
My screen.
So I've been working with Antonio for 15 years or so. We were together on the PMI board and developed some good ideas and became friends eventually. So he served 2 terms and was a board chair and became a PMI fellow and everything. So I'm really proud to be connected to him and to other fellows. And I hope you also feel that there is a lot fellows can give to you. We have now the link in the chat. If you want to click on that, you are guided to a Mentimeter screen with 5 short questions where you can give us your opinion, and we also will share it, the end results with you. And but I don't want to take over from Maria the moderation of the rest.
Thank you. I enjoy listening to you, Thomas, and especially because you bring a lot of knowledge and depth into everything that we're doing in our team and during our sessions. Just let me find my session again. I'm trying to proceed with the session now. Do you see it?
No.
No. Okay, it's
Yes.
loading.
No.
All right. So this is the Mentimeter. If you haven't had the chance yet, I see 15 people only voted. You can screen it with your phone or use the code. I'll share the code on the chat as well. And there's no space for you to write on the Mentimeter, but if you have any comment or anything you want to, any ideas about the session, any speaker that you want us to bring in on specific topic that you're interested in, please let us know and we'll try to arrange it for you. For those who are not familiar with the Project Management Institute or the Germany chapter, it's a combine of 20 local groups in 5 regions, and it's a very international community, and currently stands with above 3,300 members, and organizes different variety of events, seminars, projects, and working groups on a regional and local level. Thank you. Thank you, Vayapuri. I hope I pronounced it well.
Yeah, that's the last name. Somehow
I
it
see.
flips. Yeah, that's okay.
Saravanan.
Yeah, Saravanan.
Saravan. Thank you very much for your input as well. And good luck with your struggles and your the change initiative that is going on in your company.
Yeah,
Our
I
local
mean,
group.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's yeah, sorry, if I
No, carry on.
if I
Yes,
disturb. Yeah, yeah.
please.
So, um, I mean, it's not just one tool, right? I mean, we use Microsoft Teams Planner, we use Jira, we use ServiceNow, we use so many tools, and it's like it's the age-old saying, right? Garbage in, garbage out. So you use different tools and you put different thoughts into different buckets, and then when you actually want to consolidate things, it doesn't give you a clear picture. Some projects are on Jira, some projects are on Microsoft Planner, some are on ServiceNow. I mean, I don't know. Maybe in 3-4 years, we will discuss about yeah, we had garbage in, so there is only garbage out. We don't have tools to analyze our data, and then we go back and streamline things. But yeah, at the moment it is chaotic.
It is difficult if one person is aware, it's very difficult for them to make any change. But maybe if you think that you have some kind of an influence to talk and bring these ideas of streamlining or assessing, stopping where we are, let's see where we can be, create one tool for everything. Because the predictions, as Antonio said, are going to be very important for us to make sure how we can proceed with our projects, only implement the projects that are important for our strategy.
Exactly. So even with artificial intelligence, it depends. It is strongly data bound. What is there,
Yes.
right? I mean, what was already done? What was the outcome? Where did we fail? Where did we succeed?
Yeah.
And if these are not what to say, gathered in a single tool, then it becomes very difficult for us to analyze in the future. So this is something that we are advocating, to use a single tool, but as you know, it's not always easy.
Yes, it's not, unfortunately, and a lot of stakeholder in a higher up hierarchy, they have stubborn opinions, or they are also very hard to change. They've been used to the way how they were taught, and as Antonio also said, we are very difficult to change. We use the same tools, and we do not want to comply with the modern market. What is, do you have any ideas of what is the single tool that you can use in your company
I
where you
mean,
can collect all the data?
yeah, we are advocating. Earlier it was Jira. Now it is ServiceNow. So we are actually in the transformation phase, and so it's really challenging times ahead. I think every other company has the same problem, or at least even if they have the same tool, the data that goes in, I'm not sure if that is what we want to see. In my company, it's again compounded by various tools that are used. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that.
But yeah, it's very important. I mean, very important to understand the problem, or the existing status quo. So I like the way Antonio presented, that we talk about agile, we talk about waterfall, but somehow we mix up things, and finally, uh, I don't know where we are heading to, but we have a vision to go use a single tool, but at the moment, it's not the way it is. I'm pretty sure that it will be the same case with the other companies as well. I've worked for 14 years in a consulting company, and every other customer will use different tools. Even within for a customer, there will be different tools that will be used. So
Yes,
it is what it is. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm sure other. Oh, thank you for your input. It's you're representing someone who is shy to share this information with us, and I'm sure someone can resonate with what you're telling us here. Um, I've seen that problem. It's a common issue, and probably other people will agree with that. But if I go back to the presentation, we are open team of 6 people from 5 countries, English-speaking group that organizes 2 online events every month. Currently, we are 24. We have had 2,400 participants from the inception and 60 plus attendees 10 times or more. We are organizing roundtables or face-to-face sessions every month. And on the LinkedIn group, we have almost 400 members, or maybe, Ellen, almost 400 members, yes.
It is
And we are
still 399.
399. Please, someone
Yes.
join the LinkedIn group so we can round the
Please
number.
fulfill our desire.
And we are, as I said, we're organizing 2 sessions every month. So these are the upcoming sessions. On the 30th of October, we will have a session with the PMI fellow Alfonso Bucero or Buquero or Buchero. I'm not sure. Today is a great day. And on the 6th of November, we will have Maximizing ROI, unveiling the strategic power of portfolio management with Stuart Easton. We will have Jeff Penning from the United States talking about how to use Miro Superhero, how to become a Miro Superhero and supercharge your virtual meetings. And very important for our Germany chapter are the 2 days for our PM Summit on the 25th and 26th of November, starting from 9:15 to 4:30. And if you want to become part and volunteer with us, become member of our local group Darmstadt, you can communicate with us. You can come forward, send an email. We are very diverse, coming from Germany, France, Afghanistan, 2 from North Macedonia, and 1 colleague from Lebanon.
And maybe to mention, we are also diverse in where we are located. So Tufik, for example, he is in Beirut, which is a little bit difficult in the time. And Maria's is just speaking from Brussels, where she just moved in.
Yes, that's exactly right. And despite the fact that it's a German chapter, we are very international. We are speaking predominantly only in English. The communication is happening in English, so feel free to reach out to us for joining the team or for coming up with an idea for sharing session, being the speaker or bringing speaker on specific topic. And here is the PDU that you can use to claim your for the time that you invested to learn about the new things from this session. And I call you now. I can just stop the presentation, or I can leave here so you can have time to screenshot or note it down. But if you have any other comments, notes on today's topic, on today's session, please come forward and we can discuss. We have experienced people here.
Maria, can you put it in the window, in the chat window? Because currently it's not sharing, at least not on my end.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Put it in chat.
Thanks.
Just let me comment shortly on the next session of our next webinar, which is with Alfonso Buchero. He's from Madrid, and he's also a PMI fellow. So PMI fellows there are about 80 PMI fellows, and almost 30 of them already passed away. So it's the last thing you can do as a PMI volunteer somehow. And if you come across to meet a PMI fellow, there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom and experience to listen to. You don't have to agree to everything they say, but at least they can answer questions. And I haven't seen any PMI fellow, or I haven't seen any big leader who is not responsive to questions. So don't be shy, ask these guys. And sometimes it's difficult to accept the LinkedIn connect requests because LinkedIn is limited in that. But you can write a comment or whatever, an email. And if you are here, you can certainly comment on Antonio today. and on the 30th of October on Alfonso.
Absolutely right. Anyone, anything to share, impressions from today's session, learning some ideas that you have to implement at your companies? We will share the content by tomorrow sometime together with the recording, so you can dive in the presentation and get inspiration more. As I noticed, Antonia had resources also where you can look it up for more information yourself.
I was really curious about the AI tools that Antonio mentioned, as well as maybe I would really like to ask you guys, are you using AI tools for like getting better as project manager? And maybe you have some specific question and then you ask the tool, do you use ChatGPT? Do you use this PM Auto? What is your experience? I would really like to hear some maybe suggestions from someone. Thanks.
Thank you, Elena. Awesome question. I see Ravana.
Yeah, I mean, this question is very critical at the moment. I use Copilot for meetings especially. So it will provide us a transcript along with the summary of the meeting. Although sometimes it is cranky, but still it makes our life a little easier, I would say, but not to the extent of where it needs to be, because if the meeting is longer, then I just get lost with what's happening with the transcript. But if the meeting is shorter, then it's easy to look at the transcript, and then probably you can make the summary of the meeting. I mean, Copilot can make one for you, or you can create one with the exact words that's being discussed during the meeting. So it's kind of helpful at the moment, but yeah, I mean, not so extensive. That's my experience so far.
I know also that the PMI Institute has its own Infinity, and I came to awareness that a lot of project managers are using it. I specifically do not. I tried PMOto, and I use ChatGPT. I subscribe. I don't want to feed it with my personal data. Not necessarily on a lot of in-depth project management tasks, but they are everyday tools that I use them every day with me. Absolutely, especially for meetings, as Saravana mentioned, recordings for meeting minutes, creating agendas, and yes, that's very helpful.
Well, it's Albrecht. I have to admit, I'm just using ChatGPT, well, just as kind of getting some insight to see how it works and see the results. So, but not for business reasons. So just for private interest.
Yeah.
I was really positively surprised when Antonio mentioned that there is some tool or it's coming that with which you can generate the scope of a project, the work breakdown structure maybe from a requirements document. You generate kind of like a template of the work breakdown structure, and then this on the base of the template, then you can remove some stuff, add some stuff, but you don't need to start from zero, because often we start as project managers like either from zero, or we copy another project in our company which maybe is the same or similar, and then we continue from there. So I think this will be a big game changer.
Yeah. Yes, and if everyone starts using that, they'll have to get the training, the proper training, and we cannot feed it with irrelevant data, and we have to be very careful how we are using it, with what type of data we're putting in. And eventually that tool will start predicting, giving us predictions. But that will be the ideal tool. But didn't he mention that it's not ready yet? It's under work in progress. I didn't got that part. I'm not sure what did he mention, and he's still working on it, and it's only done for specific companies.
Yeah, I think he mentioned ChatGPT. You could ask for a similar project, and it will give the work breakdown structure if the project if the data is already available in the web. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I mean, it also needs wide licenses. Like if you want to use Copilot or ChatGPT for that matter, I mean, the first step is to ask the organization to procure licenses as a first step, so you can literally use your data from the company without any worries, or without masking data. That would be the first step, and then once you have the tool, then you can play around and comment whether it's really helpful or not. That's what we are doing in my place. We got the enterprise license, and now we are trying it out. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's really pathetic.
Yeah. Yes.
What I'm also seeing is that companies start running their own local instances of AI with some sometimes open source models, sometimes the ChatGPT. So it's also a way to protect the data, and of course, it's not the same. It's not so progressive like how it will be. How, like what Antonia mentioned, this company have a lot of money and they have so much competencies to always train, expand, improve the models. But it is something. It is something. You know, you will not be scared to use these tools, the AI tools, and it will be still compliant with the companies. Because personally, I asked the question because I pay a license for ChatGPT, and I turned off this possibility, this tracking possibility, but I still feel scared to add any like name or anything of such. So I try to abstract as much as possible and never ask direct questions of yeah for work. So I don't know. I think it will feel better when it's locally, when it's compliant with the company, and when we can use it more free. So I can say it.
Yeah, that's very important with these AI tools. Even though they say you are procured license, like private license, but still the data goes into the web, and we don't know how secure it is. But with enterprise licenses, it is still fine, at least to some extent. But we do not know what's happening in the background. Yeah.
I've been member of this webinar series, Revolutionizing Projects, organized by Ricardo and Antonio. And on the spot, Ricardo was actually the entire day was trying to do resource management, and he shares his screen how he used ChatGPT to find the best resource for a specific project from resources out of 300 people. Um, the question that he had written inside was intense, was really lengthy. So it's not only using it and making simple questions, really knowing how to place the questions, because it's not as smart as we think it is. The results are really bad if we don't condition it. Also, ask us questions. If you are not familiar with this, please ask me further to understand better what I'm asking you. What are the right questions that I'm not, what are the right things that I'm not feeding you, so you can make the best assumption. And so his questions was very lengthy, gave all the statistics, he used names, but it's his personal, his private bot, let's say. And he gave, after he evaluated himself manually the resource, ChatGPT also provided the same resource within seconds, but he needed like 2 hours. And he showed that during the session. My point was that we really have to be also to learn how to make the questions very thorough to get the best answer.
And to make questions, you can again use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
In turn.
That too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else have anything to add? I see people are leaving slowly, expressing that thank you. That the topic is very interesting. I like that. Maybe we can bring more discussions about AI, more sessions about AI. If nothing has anything else to add, I can give you 5 minutes of your life back. And I'll wish you a very good evening to have everyone. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again on our next session. Thank you for my team for the support on our technical issues with if anyone had problem to connect to our session, and they were there to share their links with you. Thank you everyone for staying until the end, and see you next time. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.